Hare Krishna. Welcome to this evening's reading of Naparayeham by Shivaram Swami. And we are going to be, actually I should have read a little more because there's just a couple pages left of this chapter, Questions by the Gopis. So we'll finish that up and then we'll go on to chapter 3, Motivated and Unmotivated Love. So remember the Gopis were asking Krishna, what kind of lover are you? So who in Vrindavan did not perk up their ears to better hear the reply of the crest jewel of all clever persons, Sri Krishna? Although trees, creepers, rivers, and stones are said to be without perception, in Vrindavan these laws are surpassed in the service of Govinda. Any abilities, attributes, or for that matter, anything desired for his pleasure is automatically granted to the residents of Vrindavan by his internal potency. There's no limitations. Doesn't matter if you're a stone. If you want to do some service for Krishna, you can do it by the mercy of the internal potency. The myriad leaves upon the trees, the countless stars in the sky, the innumerable birds and beasts, the inestimable waves of the Yamuna, and the unlimited varieties of living entities I failed to mention, both moving and non-moving, and of course the inconceivable beautiful gopis, at whose lotus feet all beautiful things, including Sri Krishna, ultimately take shelter. Oh, Krishna takes shelter at the lotus feet of the gopis. Turn to the most proficient champion of fastidiously articulate speech, who, with an alluring smile that brought a grin to the lips of all, and lips to those who had none, took up the challenge of providing answers to the gopis' love-laden riddles. What great fortune smiled upon those who heard Sri Krishna disclose the innermost secrets of his heart and proclaim his unparalleled love for his devotees. Navasaki, by this time we were nigh past the gates of Nandagram and were being affectionately embraced by Mother Yashoda. So this was happening while they were walking in the morning from Yavat to Nandagram with Srimati Radharani. I felt as if I had been in a mystic trance. When the Queen of Vrindavan said, "Shamalate, please prepare the buttermilk," I hastened to her command, all the while thinking, how wonderful is the mercy of Sri Radha. What pious acts had I done to be the recipient of this grace? As if to answer this question, my mind drifted back to a recent incident. Padma, Chandravali's dearest girlfriend, became envious of Radhika's good fortune when she saw Radhika with Sri Krishna in Bandiravan forest. Amazingly enough, the usual maladroit Jatila managed to make her way to that place and saw Radha and Krishna laughing and playing, like Gauri and Shankara are wont to do. Just at that time, I appeared. Her face covered with beads of perspiration and her voice almost incoherent, Jatila said, "Agitated by some foolish girl, I have come here. What am I to believe? Shamalata, I have firm faith in you. Tell me, what am I seeing?" Gathering my wits, I replied, "Respected one, what else could I tell you than the truth? I cannot deceive you. See Subal, now in the dress of a girl, clowning with Sri Krishna, the funny prankster of Vraj." Jatila was desperate to relieve her anxiety. My answer was so far-fetched that she placed her faith in it and immediately returned from where she had come. Yes, by such service to Radha Krishna, I gained a particle of their mercy. Thinking like this, I followed the order of Nanda's queen. So now we go to chapter 3. And chapter 3 is based on these two verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 32, 17, and 18. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. So Krishna's going to answer. Mito bhajanti ye sakya swartai kanto dyamahite natatra sohridam dharma swartartam tadinanyata bhajantya bhajato ye vai karuna pitaro yata dharmo nirapavadotra sohridam cha sumadhyama. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "So-called friends who show affection for each other only to benefit themselves are actually selfish. They have no true friendship, nor are they following the true principles of religion. Indeed, if they did not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. My dear slender-waisted gopis, some people are genuinely merciful, or like parents, naturally affectionate. Such persons who devotedly serve even those who fail to reciprocate with them are following the true faultless path of religion, and they are true well-wishers." So here we go, chapter 3. Motivated and Unmotivated Love. Navasaki, have you understood the nature of the gopis' questions to Hari? Very good. You are a worthy student. Now listen as Sri Krishna responds to the first two of our 3 questions. I came to understand the meaning of his answers in a very wonderful way. After Gopal enjoyed the breakfast cooked by Radhika and her girlfriends, he retired with his boyfriends for a nap. Then the Queen of Vraj, who loves us as if we were her daughters, fed us with her very own hands. And what can I say of her affection for Radha? Within her mind, Yashoda Devi must consider Gauri her daughter-in-law. Crossing the hill of Radhika's reluctance, Yashoda made her rest, and then encouraged our maidservants to render various services, such as fanning and applying sandalwood paste to Radha's golden limbs. Then, by the efforts of her girlfriends, Radha was able to have a brief meeting with her beloved. I accompanied her to the appointed place in the palace garden, and then left her alone with Hari. My heart restless to understand the mysteries of Prema, I walked through the private grounds of King Nanda, gardens that far excelled the pleasure groves of Indra. Wandering among fountains, trees, and flower beds, I was lost in the beauty of that garden and my own thoughts. Somehow, by the grace of Vrindavan, I found myself on the bank of the Yamuna, where we had danced the rasa the night before. There I came upon an exquisite wish-fulfilling tree surrounded by a crystal platform. When that kalpavriksha invited me to rest, I sat down, still absorbed in my own thoughts and the beauty of the garden. Suddenly, 2 parrots sitting in the tree began to discuss Sri Krishna's answer to the gopis. They had been present at the Maharasa the night before and had overheard our conversation with the Prince of Vraj. These birds were connoisseurs of prema. From them I understood the nature of motivated, reciprocal love and the unmotivated love of those who are genuinely merciful, like naturally affectionate parents. Of which nature was Hari? Navasaki, his love cannot be categorized. He is a completely transcendental being. Neither motivated nor unmotivated love can purchase his soul. Now listen to what I saw and heard at that place. Shuka and Shadi sat perched upon a branch of Vrindavan's most famous desire trees. So Shuka is the male parrot and Shadi is the female parrot. They had been stunned since Sri Krishna and his gopis parted at night's end. The parrot couple's pain of separation had caused them to lose external consciousness and merge into an ocean of bliss. Tears flowed from their eyes, and Hari's names happily played upon their tongues. Krishna, Krishna, Rama, Rama. What a night that was! What a night of dancing, singing, and festivity! Love was the conductor, love was the music, and love filled everyone's heart. Love made Krishna dance, and love made the gopis sing. Love was the language of the lovers, and love pervaded Vrindavan. Time seemed to stand still. A night of Brahma had passed, but now it was over. With tears in his eyes, Vasudev spoke in a trembling voice. Sakhis, so that our elders may not fault us, please keep our pastime secret. Although the gopis wanted to stay, by his will, they returned to their homes. Then all became silent. When a musical recital is complete, the silence is deafening. When a festival of love comes to an end, what remains? Taking compassion upon the parrots in their pain of separation, the desire tree decided to revive them. No less than 5 kinds of flowers blossomed upon that branch. Combining the fragrance of its flowers, the kalpavriksha copied the aroma of Sri Krishna's garland and caused that bouquet to enter the parrots' beaks. To attract their sense of hearing, he also sent a swarm of bees to hum in the birds' vicinity. This was the same choir that regularly accompanied Govinda and tasted nectar from his garland. The scent of the flowers and the sound of the bees stimulated the parrots' remembrance of Sri Krishna's garland, and hoping for his audience, the birds gradually came to external consciousness. Opening their eyes, Shuka and Shadi looked here and there, seeing beneath them only the remnants of the previous night's festivities. Everywhere were footprints in the sand. The gopis' footprints, tinted red with laksha, expanded in concentric circles from the place where Radha and Krishna's lotus feet had left their own exclusive signs. Here was a fallen veil. There was a forgotten ankle bell. Everywhere were crushed garlands and scattered flowers. Soon Vrinda Devi's servants would come to gather the fallen articles, clean the dancing arena, and decorate it as before. The two birds sat like emerald figurines, their coral beaks glowing in the morning light, their round eyes saturated with sublime knowledge, their gentle love dispelling all fear. Although emblems of Raj's devotion, the parrots were speechless. What was there to say, while Govinda and his consorts cried in one another's absence? Their heads turned slightly askew. The two birds sighed again and again, their hot breath scorching the kalpavriksha's leaves. The desire tree said, "Dearest friend Shuka, dearest beautiful Shadi, do not lament. That which you desire, the meeting of Sri Krishna and his gopis, is destined to take place. Sri Radhika has already gone to Nandagram to cook Krishna's breakfast. At this very moment she is basking in the association of her beloved. Why should you lament?" Shuka and Shadi turned their heads toward the tree. Shuka bumped his beak into his beloved's head, and Shadi took a sideways step to ask, "Will Radha and Sri Krishna really meet, or will they merely exchange glances as Radhika places trays of sweets in Mother Yashoda's hands?" The Kalpavriksha replied, "Vrinda and Purnamasi arranged a meeting of Radhe Shyam in the cave beneath the palace. When Govinda finished his breakfast, he retired to his chambers for a brief nap. At that time, Radhika also rested after the labor of cooking. Unbeknown to their friends or Yashoda, the two now meet in a garden cave, carefully hidden by trees, vines, and greenery. By the deceptive skills of her maidservants, Sri Radha basks in the association of the Lord of her life, and he in hers. When the rowdy boys gather to wake their chum, they will lead him to a day of merriment with the cows, during which he will meet his beloved gopis again. "Oh, how romantic," chirped Shadi. "The only medicine for a broken heart," chimed Shuka. "My friends," continued the Kalpavriksha, "you are proficient in narrating the pastimes of Hari. Please tell me one thing." "What is that, my lord?" inquired Shuka. Feigning disability to secure the parrot's place in Krishna's pastimes, the desire tree asked, "What was Sri Krishna's answer to the gopis' query last night? With the burden of my age, my hearing is impaired, and I was unable to clearly hear his sweet words. Please repeat and explain Sri Krishna's witty and erudite response." Taking a leading role so as not to be outdone, Shuka shook and fluffed his feathers so that his body appeared almost twice its size. While rotating his head and lifting his claws, he remembered Govinda and worshipped the Lord in his mind. Before Shadi could speak, Shuka froze her with a glance and pecked her lovingly on the head. Established as the orator, invoking the sweetest possible voice, Shuka summoned auspiciousness with the words, "Tatasto patato namro jaya vrindavaneshvara, jaya vrindavaneshvari, jaya talya prasidata." Glory to the Lord of Vrindavan, glory to the Queen of Vrindavan, glory to their girlfriends. May they all be pleased with us. Bowing his head, Shuka sang, Sri Krishna was very comfortable, seated upon the veils of the gopis. Their cloth was made of the finest silk, perfumed with the fragrance of their bodies, and sprinkled with the vermilion from their breasts. Sri Krishna appeared very beautiful among the gopis, just as beautiful ornaments appear to enhance attractive limbs. Within the three worlds and beyond, what male is as handsome as he? And of the women created by Brahma, which can compare to any one of the gopis? The combined presence of Krishna and his girlfriends was simply stunning. "Of course, the gopis are more charming than he," interrupted Shadi. To silence her, Shuka leaned his body against hers and continued. Having disclosed their anger, the gopis alluringly and defiantly moved their eyebrows. There was no end to Sri Krishna's happiness when he heard their challenging questions and observed their facial expressions. Now he would have to answer their tricky questions. Pausing a moment to reflect, Krishna held Vrindavan and the gopis breathless in dramatic suspense. When Sri Krishna opened his lotus mouth, a stream of nectar engulfed Vrindavan Dham. A mixture of camphor, heavenly nectar, and the fragrance of blue lotuses could hardly compare to an atomic fraction of the sweetness of Govinda's breath that flowed while he instructed the gopis. The sound of Krishna's voice was sweeter than a cuckoo, yet more compelling than rolling thunder. His words were like the resonance of honey, and the composition of those words was like the dancing of Lord Shiva. Govinda seemed to herd the Sarabi cows of his words with the stick of his hypnotic tongue, securing them in the gopis' hearts with the enchanting ropes of his lips. If poetry had origins, it was in the meter of his speech, and if the element ether was ever worshipped, his voice was the ultimate offering. Whether this shloka emerged from his heart, or the heart of his heart, or those who reside there, only those who reside there could say. Rama's audience could perceive that each truti of time was blessed with fortune as it carried his words to the gopis and beyond. In answer to the gopis' questions, Sri Krishna said, Mito bhajanti ye sakya swartai kanto dyamahite natatra sohridam dharma swartartam tadhinanyata. So-called friends who show affection for each other only to benefit themselves are actually selfish. They have no true friendship, nor are they following the true principles of religion. Indeed, if they did not expect benefit for themselves, they would not reciprocate. The Kalpavriksha was so elated by Shuka's speech that bumps of ecstasy appeared on his bark. His flowers blossomed in happiness and discharged their fragrance like syringes. He said, their vanity wounded by his neglectful dealings, the gopis inquired whether Sri Krishna was a motivated lover, an unmotivated lover, or a callous ruffian. By sweetly addressing the gopis with the word Sakhis, did he not declare his genuine friendship with them? Oh yes, my lord, replied Shuka. There is no doubt about it. Furthermore, he has defeated their idea that he is indifferent and unsympathetic. How could one be a friend and yet callous? That is the second implication of the word Sakhis. Did he not reveal the love permeating his heart? Asked Shadi. Surely Govinda loves us all. Shuka continued, you are residents of Vraj. Your words cannot be false. And further to your three readings, the word Sakhis suggests a fourth. It is this. By the same feminine pride that caused the gopis to think themselves the best of heroines, they now took exception to Sri Krishna's behavior, their hearts sorely wounded. At this, Shuka glanced defensively at his audience. Thus the gopis accused Govinda, a faultless youth, of mistreating them. Faultless youth, declared Shari. Who invited the gopis with his flute and then asked them to go home? Who abandoned helpless girls in the dead of night to entertain his favorite? Who? Dearly beloved, interjected Shuka, careful to be particularly polite in the presence of the monarch of trees. Do be quiet. Please show the courtesy of allowing me to explain things before you offer your comments. The Kalpavriksha smiled as Shuka continued. As it is said, essential truth spoken concisely is true eloquence. By this one word, Sakhis, had he completely conveyed the mood of his heart and succinctly answered the gopis' questions. Shuka then pecked Shadi lightly and announced, That is my Krishna. Without waiting for a response, Shuka expanded his chest and said, Krishna meant to say, My dear Sakhis, you are my dearest friends and most intimate companions. How can you accuse me of loving you for gain, or worse, trying to deceive you? Do you really think I could exchange sentiments of love with my dearly beloveds like a capitalist? The critical insinuations concealed in your questions reveal your wrong impression of me. I could never behave as you imagine. Please abandon these mistaken ideas and nourish firm faith in your well-wishing friends such as I. Feeling Sri Krishna's pain, Shuka shed tears, while Shadi said gravely, I think that was pure intimidation. Pure intimidation. The Kalpavriksha said, In this verse, Sri Krishna has answered the gopis' first question, what kind of lovers give affection in proportion to the love they receive? Is that not so? Exactly, replied Shuka. In all his answers, Shamasundar evaluates the lovers mentioned by the gopis and suggests their inability to attract him. Shivering in ecstasy from beak to claw, he said, According to Sri Krishna, those who show affection to solicit love are merchants. The basis of such dealings is only self-interest. Little good may be said about such men, although they make much ado about their dealings. Shadi bobbed her head and asked, But dear, is it not natural that one gives love to those who show affection? What person desires to be brutalized by ungrateful lovers? Shuka rejoined, Not so, Shadi. When one loves another for the fulfillment of one's own desires, that exchange is nothing more than barter. Consider the essence of commercial exchange. Self-benefit, exclaimed the Kalpavriksha. Precisely, affirmed Shuka. Contemplate this example, dear. If a landlord carefully maintains a herd of cows with the hope of acquiring oceans of milk, does he really render the cows service? Not really, replied Shadi. Certainly not, added the Kalpavriksha. That so-called service to his mothers is in effect service to himself. Shuka continued. Similarly, love motivated by a desire to enjoy its fruits is but a pretense. If incorporated into spiritual practice, such so-called love becomes cheating religion. The entire scope of ritualistic sacrificial activities promotes such profiteering. It is this very irreligion Arjuna rejected in favor of devotion saturated with loving ecstasy. Just consider Sri Krishna's teachings in the Gita. Enlivened, the Kalpavriksha said, loving devotion to Hari constitutes real religion. That devotion must be free of selfish motives and should have as its goal solely the happiness of Govinda. Shuka continued, that is why Sri Krishna insisted that motivated love is neither religious nor genuine. He rejected it from the category of authentic loving relations and hinted at its inability to attract even an atomic fraction of his liberal heart. Understanding Sri Krishna's wisdom, Shadi summarized. Adoration for the sake of adoration, the returning of favors, and mutual affection do not constitute real love. Those who embark on such relationships are entrepreneurs, and their activities are devoid of true spiritual merit. Pleased with Shadika's conclusion, Shuka kissed her beak in ecstasy. The Kalpavriksha completed the analysis, saying, Sri Krishna seems to have implied that he has no attraction for such mercantile love. That being the case, he can hardly be accused of practicing reciprocal affection. In their effort to understand Krishna's neglect, the gopis cannot accuse him of culturing Hetuka Prem. Neither does such practice invoke Gopal's mercy. Twirling around thrice, Shuka flapped his wings and said, where unmotivated ecstatic love is absent, you will never see Krishna. Hari's esoteric meaning confirms that he is not a love broker. Neither does such motivated love attract him. Neither does he reciprocate with such business affairs. And with that, he paused for a moment. So now we know that Krishna is not the first type of lover that just loves those who love him back. Let's see how long the next section is. It's long. Okay, so we're going to stop here because it starts a new section. Thank you so much for listening. And tomorrow we will continue to hear Krishna's answer to the gopis' questions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.